Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Welcome back if you're a subscriber. If you're not a subscriber, please subscribe and like this video. Help me grow my channel. I appreciate the support. So today I'm going to do something a little different. I am going to, instead of doing like a makeup tutorial or a haul, instead I decided to do a career video. So I was inspired to do this video because as I was surfing on the internet, actually, I was surfing for work memes because I was having a bad day and I was like, I just wanted some comic relief. As I was searching for those, I ended up finding a motivational poster, and I will show the video. Or sorry, I'll show. I'm tired. I'll show the poster right here. Okay. And the poster is called 10 Ways to Be Sensationally Successful at Your Job. It's very positive, inspiring, uplifting poster. So let's explore it. So there's 10 items. So I'll start with number 1. So number 1 says, behave as if you're still being interviewed. Yes. This is one that I think people forget, especially younger people. Yeah, like when you get the job, you really do. That's not the time to relax and say, okay, I got the job. Let me, let me kick back. And I've seen this a few times. So a little bit about me. Currently, I work for a federal bank. And I've been in banking most of my career. I've been on Wall Street most of my career, and so currently I work in operations, which is very stressful. And I work in IT operations, specifically in the compliance and risk management department. So not only am I dealing with the day-to-day operations of helping run a bank, right, through compliance and through risk management, as you probably can appreciate when you work in that type of environment, things come up, right? There's always, let's say a database gets deleted on accident and it has financial information. My job, as someone who works in the risk management department, is to determine how this occurred, what we can do to mitigate this from happening again. Also, I need to know if there's any control failures. I need to know what type of information is in the database. Do we need to contact people? Did we violate any type of regulation with how, the data ended up getting deleted? I mean, there's a lot of things to take in consideration, right? So that's the risk management side of things. And the compliance side of things is, well, we have rules in place to prevent things like this from happening. So what went wrong? What was the root cause? Do we need to enforce accountability mechanisms onto employees to make sure this doesn't happen again? And then that's just, the reaction part of my job, right? That's when something goes bump in the night. But then I also have my day-to-day strategic things I need to do. Think of, corporate America, specifically banking. A lot of times it's like a shark environment, and there are very much companies that are still like this. But I think there are companies out there now that are corporate, and are a little bit more liberal. When I first started working at the bank that I'm at now, our CIO had tattoo sleeves, and I never seen any executive have visible tattoos. People aren't going to make a big deal about you having purple hair if you get your job done and you're brilliant at what you do. Let's put it that way. I've worked for so many different industries. I don't want to make this about me, but I just want to let you know that I have a lot of experience. Right now, I manage people. And so I have a team of people that I manage. I train, I coach, I do all that stuff. But I also worked in cybersecurity. I also worked in computer forensics for a Big Four. I've worked in different industries. I've worked in pharmaceutical industry, academia. I've worked in marketing. So I've done a little bit of everything. I worked in advertising, which is like the wild, wild west. When it comes to just corporate culture, you can do anything. I mean, people would show up, flip-flops. People show up in like, you know, bearing cleavage and wearing backless dresses, and it was like a fashion show. And so I've worked in like very conservative environments, very liberal environments. But anyway, enough about me. So Yes, you do want to, when you get hired, you do want to continue acting like how you appeared in the interview. I would say definitely for the first year. Um, and the reason why I say that is, I've seen just people I've hired literally come in like after they pass the background check and everything, like on their first day, they come into work casual. Now, while that's not wrong, it does make you look at the person kind of funny, like, dang, you just been here for less than 24 hours and you're already comfortable, you're already showing up in your sandals. Again, I try to keep an open mind, but if they come in like that and then their personality is different, I've had people start swearing the first day at work. People start, I had one guy the first week he started doing happy hours. His first week starting at the company, and I was like, we just hired you. You're doing happy hours, and you're coming to work casual. Hello, everyone. So I just wanted to add a point of clarification. Uh, this person was planning and hosting these happy hours while at work during his first week. That's all. It wasn't like he was being invited and then he just attended, because that's okay. And he ended up not working out for us, and that's the reason why you want to be on your best behavior when you first start working. People are judging you, right? They just hired you. Maybe the person before you didn't work out. You should really be more serious and more formal until you kind of proven yourself a little bit. Don't worry about making friends. That will happen. Really try to like do your job to the best of your ability. Two, let's see your manager as a person you help, not a person who tells you what to do. That is brilliant advice, and it took me years to do that. And once I started doing that, my life changed. Like, I had a great relationship with my manager. Um, like, they started trusting me more. Your manager is someone you're helping. That's your job. Your job is to make your manager's job easier. That is, like right now, my manager is overloaded. She's very stressed. I know in her personal life, she's moving, and we have COVID going on, and then her daughter is starting a new school. I know her daughter is having issues in school because she's told me this. I know that we have regulators coming in. I know that we just recently fired someone, and I can tell that the person that we just fired, because I end up taking the person's work, they were not doing their job for a long time. And so I don't know if she got in trouble about this or whatnot. So, I mean, I know she's under a lot of stress, and she's been having to cancel meetings, right? And that's not her. She's not a manager who cancels meetings and doesn't show up, and she's a very engaged manager. So I know something's up. And so what I'm going to do is ask her, hey, how can I help? If I see that she forgot something, I'm going to remind her. So if we're on a call and I know she's stressed out because she's been up since the middle of the night trying to do something and she hasn't gotten sleep, so she's like forgetting something, I'm going to IM my manager while we're on the call. Oh, and since we're working remote, I can do this. And I'm going to say, hey, don't forget ABC 1 2 3. Then my manager will start talking and go, and everyone, ABC, I like to point you to ABC and 1 2 3. And then she continued, and then someone asked her a question, right? And I'll go ahead and I'll give her the answer, and then she'll reply with the answer I gave her. Then we get off the call and she says, thank you. Thank you for doing that. That's making her job easier. Why? I know my manager hasn't gotten sleep. I know she's very busy. Why would I let her fumble and not understand and not look good, or what? That's not my job. Is to help her do her job. So it's things like that, right? And not making a big deal about it too. Like when you give your manager the answers, it's like, oh, I gave her the answer. I mean, yeah, that's my job, is to make her look good, right? If your manager, you know, um, calls on you to do something in front of people, always agree to do it, and then pull her aside and say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Don't question her in front of other people, right? Or him. Make them look good. Another one too that drives me crazy as someone um who supervises people and trains and coaches people is when people ask too many questions. It's like again, wanting to be told what to do. you need to think. Like, we're hiring thinkers. So the biggest, I think skill you can bring to the table is being a problem solver. So don't ask me what to do. I personally hate that. My manager doesn't really care when people ask her what to do. But everyone's different. I hate when people ask me what to do. If I give you work, that's what you need to do. Don't ask me. Like, I had someone today, one of the systems that we're working in is having issues, right? And there's some reports we need to generate. So I trained someone yesterday on this system, right? And I said, I spent an hour of my time. I actually stayed late so I can train this person. And I said, I'm generating reports. And I'm like, oh my goodness, these 3 reports are not working. I don't know why. We've been having issues with this tool. I need to call the vendor. Now, if it was me, I would have been like, and this was the person I reported to, I would have been like, yo, can you give me the number? I'll call them right now. You know? And so I'm like, I'm trying to get all this stuff done. And I said, okay, well, I can get this report working. Fine. So I keep training the person. We finish. The next day, I'm swamped, right? And so I tell the person, I said, hey, I'm going to need you to take on the generating these reports that I trained you on yesterday. So you're going to need to call the vendor. This person asked me 200 questions, you guys. Like, it's not that deep. Like, I gave you the vendor's contact information. I've given you a training on the tool. You've been in the tool. It's very straightforward. Just call the person, the vendor, and let them know that we're having issues again with the generation of reports. So my I don't like saying direct report. I always say colleague. So if I say colleague, I don't like saying subordinate or anything like that. So my colleague, I'll say that. But that's the person who is taking instruction from me. My colleague, she's like, okay, which reports don't work? I just trained you on this yesterday. I'm just looking at her and I'm like, and it's written down. I mean, like, we have like a brief that we do every month that has the reports listed that we need to run to include for metrics. Like, it's not like this information isn't everywhere. I mean, we have training guides that have this information in it. She just didn't want to, I guess, because I was giving her the information quickly. I was like, just call. I guess she didn't want to take her time and like I would have just referenced the documentation. I wouldn't have asked my manager, hey, can you tell me what reports? That's just me, because I know it's written down somewhere. So she asked me. So I start naming the reports, right? So I'm naming the reports, and she's like, okay, so you want me to call, and are there any other reports I need to look into? So I said, are there any other reports that aren't working that we need to use for the brief? And she goes, no. I said, okay, so that's your answer, right? Like, just call the vendor. So yeah, you're supposed to be making my job easier. Please don't make me tell you every little thing you have to do. Like, just do it. Like, figure it out. You'll be okay. It's okay. All right, moving on to number 3. Build relationships based on performance, not conversation. See, I don't know if I even agree with this 100%, because you can, like, I guess it depends on the corporate culture. Like, I do think you can build a relationship based on conversation. People love talking about themselves, and especially when you work in a very stressful environment, if you just ask someone if they're okay, or ask them, like, take a little break and just start talking about current events, I think that can warm people up to you and make people confide in you and make people more comfortable to be around you and learn to trust you. And so I think the social aspect of things is important. And we're starting to realize that being vulnerable at work, like revealing things about like insecurities and things like that, make you closer to your colleagues. Now, obviously, it depends on the work environment. If you're in a toxic work environment, then obviously don't share personal things about yourself. But, if you're not in a toxic work environment, I think it's fine to have a conversation and build relationship based on that. I've built solid relationships, working relationships with people, just having conversations about hobbies. But I do believe that there is something to be said for building a relationship based on performance. So and what that looks like is if you're always the go-to person, you get a reputation, right? So on my team, even before I became a supervisor, I was when I was just an analyst, an entry level employee. I was always the person who would follow up with people. So if someone had a problem, they submitted a ticket to my team, I would take the ticket. I would go above and beyond. I would give the person the requested information. I would then send it via email as well, and then I would call the person, and then I would ask them if they need help with anything else. And sometimes they would say, "Oh yeah, since you asked." Sorry, let me blow my nose. Ugh. They'd be like, "Yeah, since you asked, I have a question about ABC system. Do you know anything about this?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, I know about this," and I would help them with it, right? And once you continue to do that, you become the go-to person. I've even done things like I'm on the phone with someone and say they're distracted. I say, "Hey, do you want me to come down?" "Oh, would that be too much trouble? That's not too much trouble." "Yeah, I'll come down. I come down and I start talking to everyone. "Hey, I'm just here to help, blah blah blah," and I come down. That's I think what they mean by build relationship based on performance. Yeah, that's important too. But I also think that you can also build relationships based on conversation as well. But I think you'll go further in your career if you build the relationship based on performance. Yeah, go the extra mile early and often. That is very true. Believe it or not, most people do not go the extra mile at work. I don't know why, because it's so easy. It's so easy. It's the littlest things that people notice. The littlest things. Um, it's oh my goodness. It's like calling someone after you close their ticket. Something that simple. Believe it or not, people appreciate. It's the littlest things. It only took you 30 seconds to call someone and be like, "Hey, I just replied to your email, blah blah, blah," or whatever. It's the little things. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's like, yeah, just if there's ever a time to go the extra mile, just do it. Just do it. I remember one time we had an outage, and no one could work. It was a network outage, and so I'm just chilling. I'm like, okay, and I see the service desk freaking out, and um, we had our computers were out, but our phones weren't, and so people were calling them and everything, and they're freaking out, and so I remember I turned to the help desk manager and I said, "Hey, can I help with anything?" She's like, "Yeah." She's like, "Can you go to each floor and tell people that there's an outage and we're working on it so that they don't call us?" I was like, "Oh yeah, I can do that." So I literally went to each floor and I said, "Hey everyone, it's an outage. Don't need to call the service desk. We're aware." And people start laughing and they're like, "Okay," and then people put down their phones and some people, "Hey, do you know what's going on?" "Yeah, yeah, yeah," And then I would tell them what's going on. I'm like, "Is anyone getting anything that's different, than what I just stated?" And there might be one or two people, "Yeah, my computer isn't doing that exactly. It's doing something else." I had to walk over. I take down their name. I write down what the computer was doing. I said, "Okay, I'm gonna make a note of this anomaly, and report it back upstairs." And I just did that, and I came back to the service desk manager. I said, "Yeah, I notified all the floors. Oh, look, here's a list of people who are having a slightly different issue that might be related. And here you go." And she's like, "Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. This helps so much with us trying to troubleshoot what's going on. And so, yeah, just go the extra mile. And like, she ended up telling her boss, who's a director, who then ended up telling my director, who then ended up telling my boss. And then her director, wrote me a letter thanking me. So I mean, like, oh my god, and I'm thinking, all I did was go down on a couple of floors and tell people that the internet's out. So yeah, go the extra mile. Number 5. Oops, I lost my place. Spot the high performers and mimic them. This is so true. You totally want to do this. Whoever's a rock star in their organization, you want to take notes from them. And you don't have to ask them to mentor you. Like, I think that's like old school. Nowadays, you don't need, a mentor is a teacher, right? So anyone who you're learning from is your mentor, whether they know it or not, right? So you don't need that person to actually be your actual mentor, as title mentor. All you need to do is watch that person and see what they do, take notes, see how they behave under pressure, see how they deal with, like, how they present, how they talk to people in upper management, middle management, how they talk to their colleagues. That helps a lot. So yeah, definitely mimic the high performers. Number 6, think 3 moves ahead. So I think what this is referring to is when you're in a position, you want to think about where you're going to go next. And they're saying 3 moves ahead. I think that's fair. I mean, so what does that look like? So maybe you start off as a junior analyst and say you work at the service desk, right? And so you're answering phones, your first line of support, maybe you're doing a lot of password resets. What do you want to do next? Some people will say, oh, well, either people will say one or two things. Someone will say, oh, I want to be a senior analyst. Or someone will say, oh, I want to be a manager. Okay, first of all, senior analyst is looking too broad. I don't think it's high enough. Like, dream bigger. Being a manager, what does that mean? Because you can be a manager. Being a manager, everyone wants to be a manager. And then when they become a manager, they're like, oh, this is what it's like. It's like, ask yourself why you want to be a manager. You might not need to be a manager. You could be a project manager. You can be a senior level, engineer, that, isn't a manager, so to speak, but has authority and and does strategic work. But they don't maybe manage people, right? You can be like individual contributors, they call it, right? So I mean, there's a lot of different things you can be a subject matter expert, right? And there are 6-figure jobs where people are subject matter experts and they don't have direct reports. So yeah, ask yourself, what types of technology do you want to be using? What type of skills do you want to be using? What type of environment do you see yourself in? What type of work do you want to be doing? So always think 3 moves ahead. If you want to go into like security engineering and you're at the service desk, what does that look like? Service desk, maybe getting into like the operation side of things, going from operations to maybe to network, and then going to security engineering. Maybe that means getting certifications. So yeah, always think like 3 moves ahead. Number 7, find a way to stand out. That is important. I would look at that as marketing yourself as well. Like, part of marketing yourself is trying to showcase your skill set that maybe that doesn't already exist at the company that you're at or on your team even. So if there's something that is unique to you, then highlight that. Use that as a marketing tool. On my team, I am known for being very honest. Now I can back it up because I'm good at what I do, right? Some people don't like, I mean, I can be brutal, right? And so I'm known for being very honest. Like, everyone knows, if you don't want to know what's going on, don't ask Sheena. And I've built that trust. I've built these relationships. I have a strong work ethic, and people know, I'm very honest. And so on my team, I work with people who are kind of like, they're not as, they're more status quo, like the people on my team, right? And I'm not status quo at all. I'm very like, I'll let you know. Like, I'll let you know. Something isn't working, I'll say it's not working and this is why, this is what we need to do instead. And I'm not afraid to challenge management. And I've gotten a reputation for not being afraid to challenge management. That's my brand. It's the fact that Sheena works really hard. Sheena will let you know that something isn't working, but she will do her best to correct it. And that's something that made me stand out on my team. It's the fact that I'm so honest. Also, I got a reputation for being a rule person. So I work in compliance, and I'm someone who, I don't like breaking rules. A lot of my colleagues will bend rules here and there for people. I never bend rules, right? And so then people go above my head, and my manager, who now we have a very trusting relationship, she always has my back, and she'd be like, well, Sheena said no. I mean, she said no, and that's another thing that like I would do that other people on my team kind of would be like kind of skittish to do, right? And so what ends up happening is, whenever there's something that needs to be done by the book, management asks me to do it. I get those projects because they know, Sheena's not going to back down. She's not going to let audit tell her that she needs to do ABC 1, 2, 3. She's going to do what she needs to do. She's not going to let enterprise management tell her what needs to be done. She's going to challenge enterprise management, and Sheena knows her stuff. Don't be afraid to stand out. I mean, we don't need a team of like clones, right? So if you have something that you're known for, if you're known for your humor, if you're known for being very organized, being very thorough, highlight that. Number 8, create your own project. This is a good one too. I hear, and I hear this a lot from people who I manage. They will say things like, I don't have anything to do. Sorry. They'll say, I don't have anything to do. I'm like, oh, this is so tedious and boring. And I'm like, Okay, if what you're doing is tedious and boring, why don't you automate it? Automate it. Now it's not tedious or boring, and now we have automation and we can throw something else at you. I had someone, another example, I had someone who they had to work on generating these reports, right? And the reports would have like, they would have to report non-compliant activity each week, and then non-compliant or unauthorized activity. And they also had to report the application that was having, like health issues, like the top 10 applications that were having the most health issues. And the person would say, I'm sending out these reports and I don't think anyone's reading them. And the person's like, I don't understand why we have to do this. And I said to the person, I said, well, why do you think people aren't reading your reports? They were, I don't know. I don't think it, I just think what you guys are asking me to do, I mean, coming up with these metrics, sending an email to people, like, I just think that like, it's just boring. And I said, well, what can you do to make it less boring? Put it in Tableau, make a dashboard, make graphs, make it look pretty, make people tell people why this is important. What I would do is like, I would find a way to, whenever there's a problem, using my data as a way to solve that problem, right? So if a manager says, you know what, we got an audit finding because of access issues with ABC tool. Oh, well, guess what? We've had 4 unauthorized or non-compliant activity related to this tool. I think that there might be this control issue. Here's a graph that I've created. Number 9, find people to help. That could be find people to help you with where you want to go. Like, so finding sponsors is what we call them. Someone who is going to talk you up. Find allies, people who see the vision, see where you want to go, and support you on that. That's what find people to help can mean. It also can mean to engage others in championing what you're trying to do. A perfect example of this in my career was when I was when I first started risk management. I had a hard time getting people to report risk occurrences. I had a hard time when I would discover risk occurrences myself. I had a hard time getting information from people. Like, people didn't want to tell me what happened. And people just weren't, it was very hard to contact people, get people to return my phone call, emails, all that. So what I did was I ended up doing a training, a lunch and learn, where I fed people. And basically I taught them on the event management process. And I gave the training to everyone in my division. And I did 6 trainings because I couldn't obviously put everyone in the same room. So yeah, we had food and each of the training sessions, and I would just go through what the event management process was, how to know when something's an event versus an incident, how to report it to me, why this is important, why I need their help. I kind of did a call for action. I'm like, hey, you guys are the experts here. And it's important for me to capture accurately what happened so that we can prevent this from happening again, so that we can mitigate risk, so we can have robust controls. Our processes can be more efficient, so we're not having a lot of administrative overhead. We're not getting audit findings. We can improve processes as well. Projects that you want to work on, a lot of times management might not see the value in that project, but if you report all these risk issues and I document them, I can compile metrics that can support you getting a new tool implemented, or you engaging in a new process or new methodology. So look at me as someone who is here to help you, get the resources you need to be the best at your job and to be the most efficient at your job. Number 10, last but not least, never forget why you were hired. That's a good one. That's a real good one. That's a good one. Because, why you were hired was to solve a problem and to fulfill a need. And so most likely that need still exists. So for example, we just hired someone on my team who is a data analytics expert. And the reason why we hired this person is that we needed someone who was analytical, because that's another thing too on my team. We don't have strong critical thinking skills. I mean, like, we have people who have critical thinking skills. Like, you have to have critical thinking skills to be in risk management. However, we don't have, like, we were lacking that person who needs little direction, right? Someone who doesn't need, how you can give someone a report and they can just take that report and just like start giving you insights. We needed that type of critical thinking. And so we ended up hiring this person who's brilliant. And that is why we hired her. I mean, she's doing other things as well, but the primary reason why we hired her is that we needed that person who was really comfortable with numbers, who had strong analytical skills, but who also had strong communication skills. So for her, she's going to continue to be an asset to our team as long as she fulfills that need that we have, right? Because that's why we hired her. I mean, yeah, she's doing other things along with the reporting and creating the metrics. However, the main reason why we hired her was for that skill set. So yeah, don't forget why you were hired, right? I mean, for me, I was hired because I had strong work ethic. I wasn't afraid to challenge the status quo. I brought fresh ideas to the table. That actually empowers me to continue to do those things, even when it's not popular, right? Because that's why they hired me. So if that's the reason why your company hired you, they're not going to fire you for, or reprimand you for doing something that they hired you for. Hello, So whenever I feel like I'm upsetting someone or I'm giving bad news that someone doesn't want to hear, I always remind myself that, like, this is why my company hired me. That was the 10 ways to be sensationally successful at your job. So let me know if you like this video. I can do more like this. Let me know if you have any questions about corporate America. I love talking about how I broke into corporate America, and I love giving advice on how to deal with problematic situations in corporate America. I can actually do a whole video on problematic situations at work. You'd be surprised what still happens in corporate America. It's really messed up. But anyway, if you like this video, please subscribe, and let me know if you want me to do more work-related videos. I'd be more than happy to do that. So until next time, bye.